My name is Helen, and I'm happy to be the first presenter at BOP seminar. I'm very glad that we are so many this afternoon. Thank you, Dina, for your kind presentation. I've been working on the issues of spatial planning, environmental planning, and issues of culture geography in terms of community participation for the last 10-15 years. And I'm happy to introduce some of our latest results, some exciting things that we have been doing together with my colleague Bianca Pliške-Altov. Now, since I don't have, we had some technical issues, then my slides are at Bianca's computer. So if you can start the slides, yes, thank you. I'll start our presentation by telling a little bit about the background of Tallinn Technical University, where I, as of now, work as Vice-Rector for Green Transformation. Bianca, can you please show the next slide? Well, it is a university hosting some 10,000 students and 2,000 employees. It is a university that situates some 5 kilometers from the Tallinn city center, and we, if we take the next slide, please, and if we look at the numbers, then these numbers are maybe not that informative, but what is interesting about Tallinn University of Technology is that according to the development strategy, Tallinn University of Technology has declared to be carbon neutral by 2035. Well, to be carbon neutral is not something unique in terms of Nordic universities and European universities at large. These are the strategic goals that the universities set for themselves in order to, first of all, be the lighthouses of the society and talk about sustainability in terms of what are the methods to reach carbon neutrality, what are the means for doing that, what sort of investments would one see, and by that universities declare to be the test beds or the living labs of the society. What is unique in terms of, let's say, Baltic and Estonian, in Estonian and Baltic context, is that as far as I know, no other university in the Baltic region has declared to be carbon neutral. I might be wrong here, but at least this is the case for Estonia. Why is that? Is the reason for that is that it's first of all, carbon neutrality is a specific, let's say, specific way of thinking of climate change that has not sort of been rooted into our understanding in Estonian society so far. And nevertheless, we've seen rapid transformation of mentality in the society in the past 1 year or so, in Estonian case, and the society talks more and more about carbon neutrality. So it is my task to transform the university into a green university, and we have a huge challenge here. If we take the next slide, then I work both in Tallinn University and Tallinn University of Technology. In Tallinn University, we have a small working group called Human Nature Interactions in the City, and it is our aim to enhance the knowledge on urban green spaces and ecosystems. We want to study the environmental behavior and how to change the environmental behavior. We focus on specifically on environmental justice and especially the issues of accessibility. And we have a broader look at the human nature interactions in the city, and it is about sustainable urban planning. We are an interdisciplinary team involving both social sciences, humanities, and natural sciences. And our aim is to raise awareness of the need to think in terms of spatial planning, to think about green spaces. If we take the next slide, please. Bianca, did you take the next slide? Then we've been involved with an Horizon project for the past 1 year or so. It's called Go Green Routes. It has 20+ participants in the project, and Tallinn University, together with the city of Tallinn, are the members of the consortium. If you're interested of the Go Green Routes project, then you can easily go to the webpage and find more information there. We may say that the project is just in the beginning, but again, it's a highly interdisciplinary project focusing on a new approach called 360 health approach, integrating the domains of health and urban nature. So we are talking about sustainability, urban nature, and the health of the citizen. So one of the main let's say one of the main approaches that we use in terms of ecological approach here is nature-based solutions. If we take the next slide, please, Bianca. Then we have declared with the project partners that by the end of the project in 2024, we have 360 health indicator being set, which means that we have developed a tool which can assess a variety of dimensions of health, and at the same time integrate the dimensions of health with the nature-based nature-based interventions in terms of how to make an impact. As mentioned before, we have interventions in a number of cities, and by the end of the project, these interventions have ended up with nature-based solutions. in a real life situations, addressing the needs of the citizens in terms of their health and the needs of the environment. So it brings together, again, as said before, health and environment. And a tangible and another tangible outcome of the project is a toolkit which would help the decision makers to implement nature-based solutions, taking account the health dimension of the citizens. So we will see how do we carry on with this project, since this project has had ambitious plans to intervene or have interventions both in terms of nature and the health of and measuring the health of the citizens. Then it has been highly impossible to do that because of the COVID situation, and we haven't been able to do interactions with people as much as we have wanted to, and some of the experiments have not been realized yet. So this is the background of what we do in Tallinn University in terms of human-nature interactions. And if we take the next slide, please. One of the outcomes of the project already is an article that has just been published, which declares that that up to 43,000 premature deaths could be prevented if we had more green spaces, accessible green spaces in the urban areas, if we would take into account the research done by World Health Organization. Let's take the next slide. According to World Health Organization, green space and health are closely interconnected, and according to their research, WHO recommends universal access to green space and sets that there should be green space measuring at least 0.5 hectares at a linear distance of no more than 300 meters from every home. And the article I'm referring to was the study was carried out in more than 1,000 cities in 31 countries, using normalized difference vegetation index, and with these calculations, it turned out that overall, from the studied regions, 62% of the population lives in the areas with less green space than recommended. So this lack of green space is associated with premature death, and it could be the city space could be improved significantly if we look at the numbers of this major study. So the study has a very strong message to all of us, why we should be talking more about green spaces and why we should act more for green spaces. If we take the next slide, please. I would like to give a short overview of a book that will be launched next year. It is a book edited by the next presenter, Bianca Pljuški-Altov, and myself. And the title of the book is Whose Green City? Contested Urban Green Spaces and the Question of Social Spatial Justice. And we, in this book, issued by Springer, want to draw the attention behind the gloomy numbers that we just learned from the study that I presented. Why there are so few green spaces in the city, and if we say that 62% of the people don't have good access to green spaces, then we can also question who of those 48% of people who have access to green spaces, who are they? We want to refer here to the question of who has the access in terms of social characteristics, and who does not have the access. We are referring and questioning in this book what is a green and just smart city, and want to ask a question: is a smart city a just city, or is a smart city a green city? And how do these three words, keywords, come together: green, just, and smart? There's a big amount of contestedness behind green and just and smart terms, and this is something that we want to address our attention to in this edited collection, with a focus to Northern Europe. So what do we mean by green space? By green space, we mean both smaller and larger green areas, such as parks, parking lots, and smaller green spaces, as well as public spaces with small green spaces, as well as cemeteries, and so on and so forth. So we in this book don't address green space as a space of 0.5 hectares, but any green space in terms of the city is regarded as a green space, something that has vegetation on. Let's put it very simply, both publicly or privately owned, of course, and regardless of the purpose or the function of the green space. It could be a wasteland, for example. We also address the question of the need for green spaces in terms of crisis situations, as we have had COVID crisis more than 2 years. What is the role of green spaces in terms of COVID? We know already from different parts of Europe that the use of green spaces went high up in terms of COVID times, since people felt the need of mental restoration as well as physical activity. At the same time, we know that that these green spaces are not accessible for everyone, and this accessibility is often not so much dependent on the people that they don't want to go to those green spaces, but it is the limitations come from the city space itself, such as limited access with public transportation, too long walking distances, and so on and so forth. So these are the issues that we address in this book, and we are excited to hear your comments about the book when it's out. And as I said, even if we know the gloomy numbers, we have to the gloomy numbers of the, for example, premature deaths and the importance of green spaces. We have to use mixed methods in order to understand what are the challenges to improve the situation of accessibility or of the justice of green spaces. To draw my presentation together, please, if you can share the next slide. I would just like to put it into a very simple message that green spaces in terms of climate change is not only about carbon footprint, as we hear so much in the media these days, that we need then we need to reduce the risks of the cities in terms of heat waves, and in terms of gathering CO2 together, but it is much more than heat waves. It's about our health. Our health, meaning that our both mental health and physical health depend on the green spaces much more than we have maybe understood until recently, going as far as the diversity of our microbiome in our gut. So we need to have a physical contact with the green spaces in order to keep ourselves well. And with that, I would like to finish my presentation, and I'm happy to discuss you the issues raised after we have heard Bianca Pliszka-Althoff and Bradley Lewin.